Hi, my name is Nicole Johnson, founder and lead sleep consultant of the Baby Sleep Site. And today I wanted to talk to you little bit about night weaning your baby, because I know this is a very common question from parents who contact me. I've been a sleep consultant for 14 years now at the time of this recording. And so I know that it weighs heavily on people's minds, especially new moms or even seasoned moms. You know, obviously we all worry that our baby's going to be hungry at night, and you know, you have friends or someone saying, well, my baby's sleeping 11 to 12 hours without eating, and then yours is still waking at night. And it's hard to know, you know, are you doing the right thing? And a lot of people worry about babies, you know, having different habits of just the habit of waking to eat instead of actually being hungry. So this video today is just going to be about the signs that it might be time to start thinking about night weaning your baby. Typically speaking, you know, we see night feedings anywhere until 6 to 12 months old on average for the most part. If your baby doesn't have any medical issues, then generally we see babies night wean sooner than later. Now, of course, if your baby has reflux and they tend to have smaller meals during the day, then they're going to need to eat at night. One thing to keep in mind is that all breastfed babies need 25 to 35 ounces of breast milk in a 24-hour period. And if your baby's on formula, then they need to have a certain amount for their body weight, basically. And after about 4 months old, that ends up being somewhere 24 to 32 ounces in a day. Now, some babies, there's a lot to think about in terms of like a mathematical formula, right? So how much milk can your baby's tummy hold? So some people will say, I'm just going to go longer between feedings during the day. But if your baby can only drink so much milk, that's really not going to help you get more milk in them during the day, if that makes sense. So the key is to find the amount of time between feedings during the day that your baby will take a maximum feed without overfilling themselves and spitting most of it up anyway. And then you want them to get as many calories in during the day, so then they can sleep for longer stretches at night, essentially. Now, when your baby's a newborn, they typically have to eat every 2 to 3 hours regardless. So you're not going to be able to night wean a newborn. Now, some babies will naturally start to sleep through the night, and yay for them. You know, we're always happy for the good sleepers. Now, obviously, I work with families who don't have good sleepers. That's why I run the sleep consulting business, and the Baby Sleep Site was inspired by my son, who was not the best sleeper. So at 4 months old, he was waking up every 1 to 2 hours all night to either breastfeed or get rocked back to sleep, or both. He took both. He wasn't picky about that. Now, of course, if he was hungry, then he'd want to eat. Now, once I was able to help him learn to sleep without being rocked or breastfed to sleep, he still ate at night for 1 to 2 times. Now, one thing that inspired the Baby Sleep Site for me is that a lot of the books said he doesn't have to eat at night at all at 4 months. And that just didn't sit well with me. It didn't register to me that he could do that at such a young age. He had a very fast metabolism, and he still does. He's 16 years old. He is a runner, and he still eats practically constantly. So as you can imagine. But he's been that way since he was a baby, pretty much, and he doesn't fill himself, like overstuff himself. So that's just kind of his personality. His younger brother was a little bit different, and he could take bigger feedings at once, and he still ate at night as well. So one thing to keep in mind is that when you're looking for signs that it might be time to night wean, you do want to look for a few things. So one clear sign of hunger at night is waking up, fussing or crying a little bit, and then going back to sleep, but then waking up again 20 minutes later. That's usually a very clear sign that the baby's actually hungry. Now, if a baby is waking up very frequently, let's say every 1 to 2 hours, eating for 2 to 3 minutes, and then going right back to sleep, that's generally a sign that they're not hungry. Now, one thing to keep in mind is as a general rule of thumb, think about how long your baby takes to eat a full feeding during the day. And let's say that time is 10 minutes. Now, at night, they could be a bit faster, a bit more efficient. They don't have distractions. So maybe we'll say that they can eat anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes for a full feeding. If you're breastfeeding and they typically take both breasts during the day, but only taking one at night, it's possible they're getting close to a full feeding. So as long as there's that feeding and at least 3 hours before the next feeding, then they were probably genuinely hungry. So things to look for are eating for very short periods of time, possibly not even really swallowing that much milk. If your baby is taking formula or a bottle of breast milk, let's say, and typically feedings, let's say, are anywhere from 4 to 7 ounces, and they only take half that, we typically call that more of a snack than a full feeding. That's okay in the sense that if that's the only feeding of the night, then maybe they just didn't get quite enough during the day, and you may or may not be able to move those milk calories during the day and then night wean. But if you're giving multiple half-size bottles at night, and they typically can take a full-size bottle during the day, then that's a sign that you'll want to consolidate at least one of those feedings. So you might want to wait a little bit longer for that first feeding and then combine it with the second feeding to make one larger full bottle. Some things that I see parents do is they will purposely only offer half a feeding at their first wake up, but then they need a second feeding. So you're usually pretty better off making it a full feeding or moving the time later and kind of helping your baby just get used to a longer stretch without having milk. So another sign of that it might be time to start thinking about night weaning is if your baby wakes up, eats, and then stays up and plays for 1 to 2 hours. That could be a scheduling problem, but it could also mean that the feeding is giving them more energy and they're just ready to go, rather than the fact that they are actually hungry, or maybe they're hungry but they need a different schedule during the day. Ideally, you would be trying to move those calories during the day. Now, a lot of people ask how to do that. Generally speaking, we try to gradually cut down on the milk feedings at night, but you have to be able to give them their milk during the day. So milk is very important for the first year. It's their primary form of nutrition. Even if you start solids at some point at 6 months or so, you'll still want the milk to be the primary nutrition. So one other thing that I see people do is some babies love solids, some babies don't. If your baby doesn't really like solids that much, that's okay. In the first year, it's just about practice and, just introduction. But generally speaking, solids should not really take the place of milk at all, or if any, so you don't want them to fill up on, let's say, fruits and vegetables are so good for us, but they're not very high in fat or calories. So let's say your baby loves solids and then they skip one of their milk feedings. Well, generally speaking, they didn't get the calories they really needed, so that means that you're more likely going to get up at night to need to give them milk that they were missing, because they really do need that to grow and thrive. Your baby shouldn't be losing weight or anything like that, so you'll want to keep that in mind as well. So that's a little bit about things to look for when you're thinking about night weaning. Very frequent feedings at night generally is a sleep association problem rather than a hunger problem, as long as there's no latch issues or anything like that. Obviously, it's best to talk to your doctor first before you start night weaning. I would say that if your baby is waking up more than 2 times a night past 4 months old, generally speaking, we can get down to no more than 2 feedings. Generally, by 6 months old, we're down to 0 or 1 feeding. But every situation is different. That's my big thing. My big philosophy is that every baby's different and you need a personalized approach. But if you need more sleep and you think your baby could go longer stretches without eating, it doesn't hurt to try to nudge them in that direction. We do it in gentle ways as much as possible so that you can be successful, they can be successful, and everybody could be sleeping and everybody's happier when they're sleeping. And I know I'm a better mom when I'm sleeping. So I know some people feel selfish about it, but at the same time, we can do a better job during the day if we're getting the rest that we need, and we can thrive as a family. So that's a little bit about that today. I hope you have a great day. Please like and subscribe to our channel so I can keep doing these wonderful videos for you. And I hope you have a great day. Happy sleeping. Thank you.